Well, our position is that we want to have a general election if Theresa May can't get the support of Parliament or even her own party to push through whichever deal or no deal, as she suggested on Friday. But what we have said is that Jeremy was elected to democratise the Labour Party, and although it's not our position policy-wise, if members decided at this conference that they wanted to have a people's vote or a second referendum, of course we'd respect the membership. So it's going to be an interesting few days. I think Tuesday is the Brexit debate, so we're watching closely.
So what do you think? Do you want to see a second referendum?
I have reservations. I would prefer to push the government into a general election for the reasons that I've said. I don't think Theresa May will have got the respect or support of Parliament or her own party or the opposition if she can't get any deal through. And in that situation, she's not a credible government. She can't take things through. She's not stable. We should have a general election.
What are your reservations about then?
In terms of a people's vote, if the government was in power, the current government that we've got, they would hold the pen on that people's vote. They would determine the questions that will be asked in such a people's vote. They might be able to skew it in particular directions to secure the result that they wanted. And I would question the fairness of that. But as I said, I mean, ultimately, if Theresa May can't get a deal through Parliament, should she really be the Prime Minister?
I mean, I guess the issue as well for a people's vote is that in your constituencies, places like Salford, a lot of people will think that this is a bit of a betrayal of what they voted for.
Well, that's right. I mean, we were one of those constituencies that voted Leave by kind of a slight margin, but we had lots of mixtures of opinion. It wasn't a binary choice for a lot of people. There were some firm Remainers and firm Leavers, but a lot of people in between, and that's what a second referendum, causes concern for me over, because I think with people like that really weren't sure and still aren't sure and just want to get the best deal and make sure that our economy is set off on the right track, it would be concerning for them. And I think, depending on how the referendum was set out, it could cause significant issues.
Could you see civil disobedience like Barry Gardiner suggested?
Well, I wouldn't say civil disobedience, but I think people would find it quite concerning, and I think it needs to be looked at very carefully. But as I say, if we've got a government in power that can't secure the support of Parliament on something as fundamental as Brexit, they really shouldn't be in power, and we should have a general election to determine the future of the country.
Yeah, it's pretty clear then that you would prefer to see the general election rather than the second referendum. I'm keen to talk to you about Labour's Brexit position, because it's easy in a way to blame Theresa May. It's all her fault. She's the one who's messing everything up. But actually, you have a responsibility as well, don't you, as a Labour Party, to put forward a credible alternative to try and shape the debate. At the minute, you're saying you want to be in a customs union with the EU, but Theresa May made it very clear this week that actually the EU is only offering two different options, and if you want to be in a customs union, then the EU say you have to be in the EEA as well, and that you have to accept free movement of people. That is what she explicitly said this week. We still have to abide by all the EU rules, uncontrolled immigration from the EU. We wouldn't be able to do trade deals. And she's right, isn't she? Labour's position would mean uncontrolled immigration from the EU.
Well, no, let's be honest. Theresa May set out on these negotiations on completely the wrong foot. She's been quite bullish throughout. She hasn't tried to win friends and influence people. The European Union wants a good deal with the UK because our two economies are dependent upon each other. And standing, as blatantly as she did on Friday and stating that we will pursue a no deal if you don't do what we want is not the approach that we should be taking. They need to stop playing political games. And that's not just the Prime Minister. That's the EU as well.
Let's take the rhetoric out of it, because she was clear, wasn't she? And we know it's true from what the EU has said as well, saying there will be no cherry picking. There's two options on the table. And at the minute, the option that Labour would choose, which is a customs union, means that the EU would only accept that if you also accept free movement of people.
The two options that are on the table are as a result of Theresa May's negotiating style, which I've set out was completely wrong from the outset. What we've set out is that we understand that free movement will end as we exit the EU. That's non-negotiable, and we want to have a robust immigration system that puts our economy first. But we're also saying that we want to be part of a customs union and have a deal that secures the same benefits within the single market that we currently have, including all of the rights and protections. We would have set out our negotiations on that basis, and I suspect we'd be in a very different place with the European Union today.
Now, you're announcing as Shadow Business Secretary plans today to have a third of workers on company boards. Can you just explain what that's all about, how it would work?
Well, I think certainly over the last 8 years we've seen a culture of short-termism in many of our board boardrooms, and that's underlined by stagnant productivity, stagnating wages are not due to return to pre-crash levels till at least 2022. And we think it's right that workers themselves who have an interest in the long-term direction of particular companies have a stake in that company, that they're heard within the boardroom. They understand what happens on the shop floor, how productivity can be increased, how efficiencies can be made, and they should be able to speak quite freely to other members of the board in order to pursue that long-term strategy of a particular company.
You and the Shadow Chancellor, John McDonnell, have been on a bit of a mission, haven't you, to kind of woo businesses. So, I mean, is this really going to go down very well with the businesses and the companies that you need to convince that Labour is going to be a credible government that won't have a negative effect on the economy?
Well, the vast majority of businesses respect their workforce, and it's a bit of a misconception to say that they don't, and I suspect that they will want to involve workers more, especially if it means increasing productivity and you know, improving the company's long-term direction overall. It's not taking away powers from other directors, it's merely allowing those workers to have a voice at the boardroom table, to be able to help make those decisions that improve a company overall.
Are you relaxed? I'm interested in your answer to this one. Are you relaxed, as someone once said, about people becoming filthy rich as long as they pay their taxes?
Well, we don't have people paying their taxes at the moment, and that's one of the common kind of issues that comes up on the doorstep in my constituency. Most people are fed up of doing the right thing, working hard, paying their taxes. Businesses are fed up of doing the right thing, paying their taxes.
But if people do pay their taxes, are you relaxed with how much wealth that they can create?
Well, I think there's been a problem, certainly, you know, in this government's tenure and, you know, across, you know, our economy overall over the last 30 years, where we've seen wealth, you know, accrue in the hands of a small percentage of people, and that's not just to do with taxation, that's to do with a whole range of economic policies and issues. And what we want to do as a Labour Party, and we'll set this out at the conference this week, is to rebalance that economy. So it's not just about how much people are taxed, but it's about making sure that people actually have the ability to earn more, and businesses have the ability to generate more profit so that they can pay their staff more. It's about re-equalising the economy.
Nicely sidestepped there. Now, one other thing that I was keen to talk to you about is Sky's campaign to try and make leaders' debates happen effectively in election times. We want to see an independent commission set up to try and work out who should be in those debates and how they should happen. Is that something that you would support?
I think it is. I think it's interesting, the point about the independent commission, because many of our members, you know, would argue that certain, you know, outlets would, you know, favour one particular party or another. So it's important to make sure that these leadership debates are fair, and it's a good opportunity for, you know, people across Britain to hear about the policies from particular parties without the spin, you know, without the rhetoric.
And one last question for you. The NEC, the National Executive Committee of Labour, decided that there should be 2 deputy leaders of the Labour Party. One, of course, is Tom Watson. The other, they say, should be reserved for a woman. Is that something you'd consider running for?
I've not even thought about it. But I know
think about it now. What's your quick thought?
I can't decide that, but I honestly haven't thought about it. I'm very, very busy dealing with business, energy and industrial strategy, and I like that very much, and I'm sure that that's going to keep me busy for a long time into the future.